So there are many different categories of lawsuits. The primary lawsuit that involves a personal injury case is what we call in the legal field a tort, okay? T-O-R-T, a tort. And those are claims that are based upon somebody else failing to do what is reasonable under the circumstances in society. So even though we all coexist, part of the civilized portion of civilization is that we have a duty to each other to act reasonably towards one another out in society every day. And if somebody, whether it's a corporation who acts unreasonably, or a doctor who acts unreasonably, or a truck driver who acts unreasonably, or just another person who acts unreasonably under the circumstances, and they cause harm to somebody, then they are fully responsible for all of the harms that have been caused. And so the traditional personal injury lawsuit, whether it's for a car crash, or whether it's for a defective product, or whether it's for somebody who's been injured on somebody else's property due to a fall or a dangerous condition, those are all premised on this idea that this tort law premise that you failed to act reasonably to one another in society and it's caused harm, and the person who caused the harm is financially responsible for all the harm that they have caused due to their unreasonable conduct. That's one type of lawsuit. There are other types of lawsuits, some that are based on administrative law, and they're not really even lawsuits. And so Social Security disability, for example, is an administrative process that's been set up by the federal government. You have to file paperwork to start that process, similar to the paperwork you have to file to start a lawsuit. And there's a hearing similar to what might be a trial, but it's an administrative process. The same is true for workers' compensation, all right? Now, there are also employment law cases that we represent people on, and that's not based upon necessarily unreasonable conduct in terms of duties to each other in society, but are instead based on federal laws that say certain employees are entitled to overtime, or there's a minimum wage, or there's a Family Medical Leave Act. These are federally established laws, and the federal government doesn't have the time or the opportunity or the workforce, frankly, to go and enforce all of those federal laws. And so it gives citizens a private right to come into court to enforce those federal laws and to recover damages if they're harmed by a refusal to follow one of those federal laws by an employer. So that's a different type of lawsuit.